Duralast brake pads free.
Free?
With the rotors.
Well, that's great. What if I need extra stopping power?
You can upgrade to Duralast Gold pads for just $10.
So Duralast pads are free?
Yep.
And an upgrade is just $10?
That's right. Part of the spring sale at AutoZone.
Get in the zone. AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
I'm at a smoothie bar asking people if they'd switch smoothies with me for $574.
Oh, I'll switch.
So what about $574 if you switch your home insurance to Allstate?
That's a headache.
Nope, it's painless.
Oh, so it's easy money.
Yep, check Allstate first and you could save hundreds on quality home insurance today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Based on the national average annual savings for new home insurance customers surveyed in 2023 who switched to Allstate and reported savings. Savings vary.
The KFH Studios, powered by Devon James Injury Lawyers. Call 888-8888.
That's 888-8888.
Traffic conditions very good this morning here in Wichita. Volume still light but picking up. We do have some pretty heavy traffic on West Street right now, right around Pawnee. Traffic update from 98.7 and 1330 KNSS. I'm Jed Chambers.
Weather. No sunshine out of the way, but that breeze going to pick up, giving us a rise in our threat of grass fires. Northwest winds switching out of the southeast at 10 to 20 miles an hour. Warm high of 78 degrees. Those warm temperatures also going to aid in fire concerns. With your Storm Track 3 forecast, I'm meteorologist Ronna Williams.
Worry less about your dog eating the couch while you're at work thanks to a stay-at-home pet's best friend. Us. Tell your smart speaker to play
97.5 and 1240 KFH. Kansas Fan Headquarters, 97.5 and 1240 KFH Wichita. KNSS HD2 Clearwater, an Odyssey Sports Station.
Hey, Wichita, it's Jacob Albrock. Stay right there for the latest breaking in sports talk. It's Sports Daily coming up next, exclusively on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
I'm Patrick Claybon with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The beginning of the NFL league year is here, making all signings, trades, and releases official. New free agent quarterback Russell Wilson, still seeking a team to sign with in 2025, is meeting with the Browns today and scheduled to visit with the Giants Friday. The Buffalo Bills signing pass rusher Joey Bosa to a one-year, $12.6 million deal that has a max value of $15.6 million. Meanwhile, the Bills bringing back DeMar Hamlin, re-signing the safety to a one-year contract. Former Cowboys pass rusher DeMarcus Lawrence spent his first 11 seasons in Dallas, signing a 3-year contract with the Seahawks worth up to $42 million, with $18 million guaranteed, according to NFL Network insiders. Six-time Pro Bowler and Super Bowl 59 champion Darius Slay signing a one-year, fully guaranteed $10 million deal with the Steelers. The Broncos signing two-time Pro Bowl tight end Evan Ingram to a 2-year deal worth $23 million. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
It's awful, huh?
My brother got life insurance from Ethos and it only took 10 minutes. And he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit ethos.com/sports. Ethos.com/sports.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albrock and Tommy Kester.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How are you? It is Sports Daily. We are glad to be with you live here on a Thursday as we make our way through championship week, if you want to call it that. It's really been sort of the beginning of March Madness for us because we've had elimination games that we've been watching, especially for K-State, not for KU, but they had an overtime thriller last night. The Cats fall, though, in Kansas City. KU survives, we'll call it, and Wichita State gets their tournament open down in Fort Worth at the AAC tournament later this morning, we should say. A very early tip. More information on that in just a little bit. We'll have Taylor Eldridge in reporting on the Shockers for us, help us get through that one, dig in a little bit to the X's and O's of the matchup this afternoon with South Florida. We will go back and visit the K-State loss. Tim Fitzgerald, our K-State insider, hops on in the next hour as well to really, I guess, do a postmortem. K-State may get some invitation to a postseason somewhere, but for all intents and purposes, a postmortem on the season as they do not reach the NCAA tournament. And quite frankly, don't come close to reaching the NCAA tournament. And KU, well, Tommy, they survived, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. They survived that one. We'll get into all of it on this edition of Sports Daily. Thanks for tuning in on 97.5 FM, 1240 AM. If you're listening to us the old-fashioned way over the air, you can call us with your comments. Max will take your calls. He's back in the studio, 869-1240. You can also, if you're watching us right now, leave us video comments on our video stream on 12 News Plus, Facebook, YouTube, and on X. And you can always leave us your voice messages on the Odyssey app as well. We will give away some HTO today. A lot of fun stuff to do. Tommy, good morning. How are you? You got birthday hangover today or what?
Yeah, actually, yeah. And not like the real hangover, but just the I'm exhausted hangover. Yeah. I was telling Max before we came on the air, as much as I love Prairie Fire Coffee and they're great and we love having them as part of the show, I had to break out the Big Gun energy drink this morning. That's what I've got next to me. Because it was a long day. It was a great day, great birthday. Thanks for the birthday wishes, everybody. It was awesome. But then KU, that game didn't end until after 11 o'clock last night. And by that point, I told Max I was already like pot committed to watch that game to the end. So I'm tired. It was a long, busy, fun day. I wish I could have gone to bed about 2 hours earlier.
Well, what are you going to do? Step away from overtime?
Exactly,
no.
Right?
We got the Caster jinx in that one just for everybody at home listening and watching.
I got to shut my mouth during games.
Tommy is a great jinxer. Loves to make proclamations in the middle, and then it almost always backfires. It was, and this one wasn't even bad either. Like, this wasn't even a bad one. You're just like, man, it's nice to see him finally build up a lead in the game. And
like midway through the second half.
I was immediately like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
You should, and then boom, it's a 5-point game.
Immediate. And then all of a sudden UCF goes on like a 17-3 run. And they take the lead. And I'm like, why? I just need to keep my mouth shut.
It could not have been more immediate. Now, I will say it's not as bad as the Baylor game when I tried to boast about that bet I almost hit on the two big underdog money line parlay thing I had. That one was worse.
That was bad. That was a bad beat.
That was that was a bad jinx. That was about as bad as it gets.
That was rough.
That lead.
I actually I feel like I have this gift to be able to jinx things. I think I actually do, and I'll do it on the golf course with my buddies, like just to like dig at him. And like there's one guy I know, I remember it like it was yesterday. He was having an incredible round, and I was keeping score, and it was like he was gonna like break his record. And I told him, and I was doing it on purpose. I'm like, hey, what's the lowest score you've ever shot? Because you're like with 4 or 5 holes to go, and it just got in his head, and he totally fell apart.
That's the reverse jinx. I think that's when you use it to your advantage, when you're trying to manipulate. That's the reverse jinx, which is a great tool in the tool belt too. But that was pretty funny. But KU does survive it.
They do,
man. What this is what it's going to be like here. Like, you're just going to have to buckle up no matter what it is. As we talked yesterday about matchups, like, what are you doing? Giving up that 83 points to UCF in the big, like, come on, like, what are we doing here? That's what can't happen, honestly. Like, what happened? Yeah, and I know they won. That's fine. But that's what can't happen in the NCAA tournament. You can't let teams have that kind of night offensively. Or you could look on the bright side and say, is this the AJ Storr game? I guess that's the other half of it. Is this the AJ Storr game? Is this what unlocks him? Shreyas Latta talked yesterday on the show, which you can go back and listen to on the Odyssey app, about like catching the Remy Martin magic, but he was talking about Diggy Coit. What if AJ Storr catches it, right? Like it could be what cures, it could cure what ails his team offensively if he were to all of the sudden wake up now. I think that's still probably pretty unlikely, but confidence is a big part of it. I mean, even if that happens though, they're going to still have to be in the tournament. I don't even really care what happens in the Big 12 tournament, but in the real tournament, they're still going to have to be the top 5 defense that they are if they're going to do anything. Like this can't happen. They'll lose in the NCAA tournament if they play that kind of defense, if they allow teams to score at that clip.
Yeah, the biggest difference, I think, between your point about Remy Martin and AJ Storr is that when Remy Martin was on the team, there were flashes of it from him throughout the course of the entire season. It just didn't, he was dealing with an injury and then wasn't able to really get back into it and actually back into the good graces of Bill Self until the tournament. AJ Storr hasn't really shown flashes this season. He did at Wisconsin, but he hasn't at Kansas. He's had one game before last night where he scored more than 15 points, and that was the game against Oakland back in the non-conference. Yeah. So and he had been at times, actually more often than not, basically unplayable for Bill Self, like just so bad on both ends of the court, was a liability defensively, wasn't able to score, wasn't making shots, turning the ball over. In minutes played, like his plus minus overall was the worst on the team when you combine it throughout the entire season. So that would be remarkable if somehow he's able to throw that all away and just flourish in the tournament. But it is different than Remy Martin, because Remy Martin, I think everybody was like waiting for him to do it. And like he had shown that he could, and he had done it in small sample sizes during the season, where AJ Storr has done nothing this year.
And that team was also loaded that Remy Martin played for. Loaded. Like when we look back at it now, at that roster, there was just an insanely good roster. This one's not quite that good, but it's good. And it could be great defensively. We've seen it for most of the season. The metrics love them defensively. We've seen them lock people up defensively. It's so matchup dependent. They cannot play teams that shoot a ton of threes well. And that's what UCF did last night. They made 14 threes in the game, especially in the second half. That's what's going to kill KU in the tournament if they can't figure it out.
It was absolutely maddening, just the way that Kansas was almost like allergic to defending the 3-point line. Like I know like at times they've been locked down defensively, but there have also been plenty of times where at least from the perimeter, they cannot guard anybody from beyond the arc. And that's the recipe for any opponent that KU plays. I guarantee you, Tommy Lloyd was sitting there at the T-Mobile Center last night, drawing up and scheming up. Man, this is the way that we beat the Jayhawks. We have to fire away on this court because they can't defend it.
Not all the time, anyway. Not consistently, because we've seen both. All right, we're going to come back. We're going to dig into that one. We'll dig into KState a little bit. We'll have some fun with the NFL today. Don't go away. It's Sports Daily on KFH.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story,
Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say,
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
83101 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospitalized from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Six 1240.
Time to get busy.
This is Sports Daily on KFH.
Welcome back in, everybody. On the way into work, I want to keep listening to Sports Daily even after you park the car with the Odyssey app and Odyssey.com. You can just download the app or visit Odyssey.com. Search for KFH. Download the Odyssey app today to get started. We welcome you back in here to Sports Daily. Glad to be here with you. One of the ways you can get in touch with us was on our video stream. Austin chimes in on YouTube and asks, how bad financially for that basketball tournament would it have been if K-State and KU both went out on the same day? It would have been bad, I would imagine, financially. K-State, I don't know that they had the real momentum for attendance. They probably would have gotten there by the end of it, but KU certainly always does. One of the big reasons I think the tournament is there, if we're being honest, is that they know KU will pack the house. So that wouldn't have been good for sure. It would have been okay as the weekend went along, right? By the end of this thing, it's a very long tournament, but certainly in these earlier rounds, yeah, it would have been real bad if KU wasn't there for the Big 12, but they are, and that's not, that go look at conference tournament attendance across the country. It's not a tremendous, like they're not, every arena is not sold out in these early rounds. I mean, they're playing games on a Wednesday afternoon at 11:30. People got to work. So we'll see. Now KU advances. They'll play again tonight, of course. They play Arizona again. It'll be the later game. And we'll see what they do. Let's talk K-State first, though, Tommy. K-State's done for all intents and purposes. They may get an invite. They fall not enough gas in the tank against Baylor. They outplayed them in the second half, but it just couldn't overcome a sort of a big run in the first half that Baylor put on them. Kind of felt like K-State ran out of gas a little bit already in the tournament, trying to imagine them being able to make that kind of run with a hobbled Coleman Hawkins it's probably way too much to ask, honestly. But they get a win in the tournament. This season did not go the way they planned. Hawkins after the game was pretty emotional. And I think finally admitting to the fact that all the noise and the chatter got to him. He was sort of in tears after the game, just, wishing basically he could have blocked all that out better for his team and done all that. And that sucks. I get it. He's 22-year-old making a bunch of money. But like, at what point is that everything for people? Like, just because somebody's 22 and makes a bunch of money, do you publicly get to berate them? It's going to happen, so you got to be ready for it. I don't think Jerome Tang helped the situation early in the season when he drew so much attention to it. It makes maybe a little more sense, though, now, Tommy, to me, why he did that, because clearly it was having an impact on Coleman Hawkins, as we saw after the game last night. And maybe that's just a coach trying to do anything he can. But I think the attention to it didn't ultimately help anything. It's unfortunate. And I think for me, like, it goes bigger because I see it all the time. I see it in our comments on this show. People just because guys like, oh, it's just people make too much money now. And like, who cares? Right? Like, they're still young people. They imagine yourself at 22 years old. Just because if somebody handed you a bunch of money, would you have been mature? No, of course not. So, I hope that we grow into this and just don't pay nearly as much attention to that stuff and just let it be what it is, which is a part of it and everything else. But it sucks. It sucks to see a young person struggle like that after the game.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I mean, I get your wish. I get your thought of it'd be great if, everybody just blocks that out and forgets about the fact that these guys are making a lot of money now. That's not going to happen. I can tell you.
But they were making a lot of money before, right? It just wasn't.
Yeah, but it was all shrouded and under the table, and nothing like public, right? Nothing like kind of out in the open that they're making this kind of money. It's not going to happen. I think here's where I fall on it. To me, it's not even about the fact that he's 22. You could be 22, you could be 42, you could be 82, make a bunch of money or not. You're still human, and these are people that still have human emotions. I don't care if you're a quote unquote kid, or if you're a middle-aged man or whatever. If you are publicly getting humiliated and berated because of your performance in a game, I don't care if you're playing for free or playing for $100 million, you're still human. You're going to have feelings. And it's easier said than done to block that out, to block that noise out. Maybe when you're 20 years older, you are a little bit more emotionally equipped to be able to handle it, or your priorities have adjusted or whatever, but everybody's human. I don't even make a bunch of money. And I know, like, if anybody is ever critical of me, it hurts my feelings, right? Like, and I'm just a person. I'm just a guy. I think we all are probably like that. So to me, it's not even about, forgetting about the fact that Coleman Hawkins or whoever is making a bunch of money to play basketball. It's just remembering the fact that at the end of the day, regardless of the money that he makes and regardless of how old he is, he's still a human. And he's going to have human feelings. And when I sent you, we were texting last night about his reaction in the locker room and him being in tears and talking about all of that. I think I sent it to you and I just said, this sucks. This sucks to look at. And I don't even mean it sucks for him as a basketball player, or it sucks for him as now a millionaire at 22. It sucks for him just as a guy, just as a person, to have people that critical of his job performance, basically, and his raw and real and honest reaction to it. It sucks. And I'd feel the same way if after the show, if you and I are talking and you're in tears in the locker room in our post game, about people being mean to you, I'd be like, man, that sucks. And you're not even making Coleman Hawkins money, right? Like Max cries after every show and I console him, and he's not making Coleman Hawkins money, but he's a guy. He's got feelings. I'm kidding. Max doesn't.
Max cries happy tears.
I have no feelings, and Jacob's making Coleman Hawkins money.
That's right. You are making Coleman
Yeah,
Hawkins money.
yeah, that's right.
But that's my point, is that to me, it doesn't matter the amount of money or how old you are. You're a human. You've got feelings and emotions. It's okay.
The other thing with Coleman Hawkins that always got me, like, he wasn't doing anything to like be a bad guy or like to impress. Like he by all intents and purposes and accounts, and we can talk to Fitz, and I know Fitz has had his share of criticisms for sure. So we'll talk about it in the second hour. But I don't think he was ever being a bad teammate or anything else. Like, he was trying to be a leader. He was trying to do all the right stuff. I think his is like this. But Coleman Hawkins was a good Jayhawk. I'm sorry, a good Wildcat. Coleman Hawkins was a good Wildcat. Like, he played fine this year. I think it's not even his fault what happened, because people, like, they expected him to come in and be something that he wasn't. Ever over the course of his career, he was never the player I don't think that people expected him to be, right? He scored almost right at his clip in his last year at Illinois. He averaged about 11 this year. He averaged 11 last year. He was a better rebounder at KState. He was a better passer at KState. He's a better defender at KState than he was at Illinois. He was, he was almost the same player. I just don't know. I think that the problem for him is people saw, biggest NIL deal and all the things that went with his addition, and thought he was going to come in here and score 25 points a game. But that's just not what he's ever been. It's not what he was going to be. And so I think it started, look, it was all an unfortunate set of circumstances for him. Like, the expectations started in the incorrect place, and then they got off to a really bad start, and he was taking the blame for it. Because he becomes the focal point of the team, and that's a part of it. That part's okay. Like, to be frustrated with the team and all of that, but they guided it in the right way and guided at people that like embrace it. Like, he wasn't ever doing anything to be a bad teammate or a bad player. He was fine, and he did. He produced all year at the clip that we should have expected him to, which is what he did last year, and which basically what he did.
Yeah, I think that unfortunately for Hawkins, the circumstances, and we've discussed it before, of him ending up at K-State and the timing in which he did, and the fact that it came late in the open transfer portal window. And I'm not saying that's a key. I'm just saying, like, that there are a bunch of different factors that played into, I think, this overall expectation for him. This speculation that it was kind of use it or lose it money for Kansas State, and that Hawkins was the best available at the time.
That's what I think happened.
Was he the best fit, though? Would he be, if Jerome Tang had to do it all over again, and if the timing was different, and if they had hit potentially on a couple of other guys, or maybe one other guy earlier in the transfer portal, they wouldn't have had the money left over for Coleman Hawkins, and then it would have been a different scenario entirely. I think all of that played in. And then, like you mentioned, just what his production was at Illinois versus what, he was going to be doing at Kansas State. I think there just was this misunderstanding of who he is and what he does as a player with the price tag attached to him. And that's unfortunate for him. It's unfortunate because that all kind of played into it. And so at the end of the day, it's a bummer for him. And I agree with you. He didn't do anything wrong at all this season. He didn't do anything that to draw the ire, I think, deservedly so, of K-State fans. He did get off to a relatively slow start overall. And I remember thinking, especially the first few games, like, he might be pressing a little bit. I think he's probably trying to live up to these lofty expectations and trying to be what he thinks that, the fan base wants him to be, or needs him to be, expects him to be. And that ultimately wasn't his game.
Doug McDaniel was the disappointing addition. I mean, let's be honest about it. As far as production on the court, Doug McDaniel was far more disappointing than Coleman Hawkins was. Like, this is the offense built for a point guard. Jerome Tang's system is a point guard offense. We know that. Now, he tried it with Tyler Perry. He tried it with Doug McDaniel. We saw it with Marquise Noel. Like it was Doug McDaniel's opportunity to come in, and he certainly got much better by the end of the year. But Tommy, his points per game dropped 5 points per game.
Yeah,
he shot. He shot. You know what his percentage was shooting threes this year? 25.
I was going to say under 30%.
25 for a dude that shot almost 37% from three last year. Like if we want to talk about what didn't go right for K-State this year, that's where you have to start to me. They just didn't get enough out of point guard, and they seemingly thought, and we all thought they brought in the perfect player for it. That didn't work. And I think that's probably, and when they were playing really well, guess what the difference was? Because Coleman Hawkins was steady Eddie all year. It was the Doug McDaniel started to pick it up on offense. And he bought in. It took him, the problem was it took him time to buy in. Like there were issues there. And they're well documented. That was what troubled K-State. K-State should have never been in the situation where they needed to win the Big 12 tournament. This team was absolutely good enough to be an at-large team. Absolutely was. By the time they hit their groove, had they not hit it so late, like we were watching, we're like, okay, there it is. Like there it is. But they did it too late. They added the pressure of a Big 12 tournament when it's hard to win them. These conference tournaments are wacky, man. Look at Colorado's making a run. Like weird things happen in a conference tournament. So look, we'll talk about it more with Fitz, but just ultimately a disappointing year. And, how do you move forward from it? Hopefully, I think for K-State and Jerome Tang, you just try again. Like you just hope that the resources are there to allow them to try it again with some different players and see if it works this time.
I don't know if you caught. I don't know if you caught any of the post game comments from Jerome Tang. That they're not playing in the NIT. They're not playing. They're not playing in the College Basketball Crown. They're going to decline. I think at least any postseason invite that's not the NCAA tournament, which obviously is not happening for them. And he was asked about that after the game. He said that because of Coleman Hawkins and David Gasson probably wanting to try to get ready for the next level of their basketball career, that those guys probably wouldn't be interested in that. And then at the same time, he feels like because the transfer portal opens around that same time, that their time would best be served in getting a head start on that. So I guess things could change if they get an invitation. The College Basketball Crown Tournament is interesting because the top two Big 12 teams that don't make the NCAA tournament get auto bids into this College Basketball Crown Tournament, and that could very well be K-State. But it looks like they're going to decline any kind of. They're going to have to start.
They're going to have to start paying teams to play in these tournaments, paying players to play in these tournaments, because he's right. It doesn't make sense to interfere with getting down to business. And for some teams with like a bunch of returners, it probably does make sense to go play those. So it'll depend team by team. A couple of comments on social. Chuck, and I'll get to Chris's when we talk KU, but Chuck says we're making way too many excuses for Coleman Hawkins, just excusing away a bad year. It was not a bad year, Chuck. Like, you got to be more specific. What part of it was a bad year? Do you wish he scored more points? Because he's never scored points. That's never been who he is. His rebounds were up. His blocks were up. His steals were up. His assists were up. Like, they were all up except points. And his points were a point less than they were a year ago. Like, this is the player that he is. That's who he is. That's who they brought in. He was exactly who they brought in. He was not like, it's not making excuses. It's looking at the situation and saying, this player does this thing, and they brought him to K-State and he did this thing. If you want to talk about disappointing players, you look at Doug McDaniel, whose points were way down, who all of a sudden couldn't shoot a three. That's what hurt this team. And we know now, because when Doug McDaniel played really well, K-State played really well. When he didn't was when they were terrible. Right? Like, that's where this gets a little bit different, right? So we look at it that way. Okay, let's talk KU, and we got a couple of comments there. First, a funny one from Chris, who says, as it pertains to AJ Storr, this is Storr's free agent season. He's got to audition for his next team. Hope so.
Not wrong.
I hope he catches fire, because it ain't going to. Yeah, it's not going to be with KU next year.
No.
And then Rick, who just hates college sports now, I think. Rick says a bunch of returners. That won't happen anywhere. Hurley said 50% of UConn will leave. Rick, KU, the team you follow closely, brought back 60% of its starters this year. This year, 60% of K-State starters are returners.
KU.
What did I say? K-State? KU. Yeah. 60% of KU's starters, the team that you watch, returned this year. Okay. Like, we got to stop. We got to stop. Yes, there's a lot of player movement. No, we don't need to paint it all with a broad brush. Teams are going to return players. For KU, they probably wish they didn't return all the players. KU fans certainly do. Like, so which way do you want it, right? Do you want KU putting out an NBA roster every year? Or do you want them returning players? Because returning players the last 2 years has not worked for them. And we'll say they're not done yet. But this is the reality in which we live, and there is an off season. There's a free agent season. There is, and that's just the way it is.
Well, and I'm completely looking forward to basically a complete roster reset for the Jayhawks after this season.
You and every other Jayhawk fan except Rick.
I'm watching the game last night, and I'm like, man, and I hate it because this guy's been around for 5 years. I'm ready for DeJuan Harris to move on. And they don't have another option, really. I mean, I know you've got Diggy Coit, and you've got, Harris fouled out, and so Coit had to go the rest of the way. But I know Bill Self leans on his veteran leadership and all of that. But there was a sequence that I remember specifically from last night. DeJuan Harris passed up an open three and then turned the ball over trying to force in a pass to somebody else late in the game in a clutch situation. It's like, shoot the damn ball and don't turn it over. And it's just like, you've been here, you've been doing this for 5 years. And I think there has been a definite regression from DeJuan Harris. And if not a regression, at least not a step forward in this final year, which is different, I think, than what we see from a lot of Bill Self players. But overall, yeah, I'm absolutely ready for a complete roster reset. You mentioned that 60% of guys coming back and returning this year for the Jayhawks. Everybody's ready for that 60%, I think, to move on.
I didn't even intend for that, but like, it's okay that like things get reset. Like, it is what it is. It's a part of it. It's not going to happen forever like this. It won't, but it is right now. I don't want to make excuses for coaches. If we're talking about excuse making, they all are dealt the same deck, right? Everybody, the portal doesn't just exist for some coaches. Like, it's across the board. Everyone starts. They don't
all have the same pocketbooks.
Guess what? They didn't before either. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest about the situation. We'll come right back. Talk more college hoops next.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood, written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together.
We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say,
what is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now. 83101 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20+ flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospitalized from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Welcome back in, everybody. Let's give away a little HTO here. How about a cup of free iced tea on us? You can win one, more than 26 flavors to choose from. Sweet or unsweet, get in and try them all. If you go inside, you can try them all, and you get one for free. All you got to do is text the keyword T to the short code 20357. That's TEA to 20357. You can enter once per day. Message and data rates apply. Good luck, everybody. Chuck expanded on his thoughts, and I think he has some good ones. It was Chuck that said we were too forgiving, I suppose, for lack of a better term, making too many excuses for Coleman Hawkins. And Hawkins is in the news because he sort of broke down after the game of, how much this has weighed on him to not be there and be better for his team. So Chuck's point is that he wasn't good. He was bad defensively early in the season, pouting, didn't play as hard as he could have, wasn't a leader. I think there were times early in the season where, yes, he struggled with all that. I do think it piled up on him, some of what we've been talking about, the unrealistic expectations, and I think emotionally that piled up on him. But I don't think it was for a long, extended period of time. I think it was for a short period of time, at least from what I could tell. And yeah, that was his point yesterday. He wishes he could have put all that stuff to the side and been a better leader. I'll buy that. Like, I don't totally disagree with that. But I think that was shorter term than what we should be remembering. The reality is the production was always sort of there, but the expectation was so high that, the pressing and all that came because of an expectation that was probably unfairly set for a player that doesn't do what fans wanted him to do. Like, that's not his game. We saw it maybe 2 times this year. And one time was, in the opening round of the Big 12 tournament. but that's never what he was going to do. It's just, again, it's all circumstantial, right? It's the timing, it's everything. But we have to be ready to sort of set that to the side. I'll give you a great example for KU, Tommy. Do Ryland and Griffin and AJ Storr catch nearly the sort of heat that Coleman Hawkins has caught this
No,
year?
because there's also Hunter Dickinson on the team, and these other it was the Coleman Hawkins show, and I know Doug McDaniel was there too, and I think that, and I remember talking about this before, that I think Doug McDaniel largely escaped a lot of the criticism because Coleman Hawkins took the vast majority of it on his shoulders. But that's the same thing with like Ryland Griffin and AJ Storr, is that, yeah, they've caught their fair share of criticism for sure this year. But you can sort of, discount their overall importance because of the other players that are on the team. And you had the emergence of Zeke Mayo, and Diggy Coit has looked good at times and things like that for KU, where really it was Coleman Hawkins or bust for a lot of the season for K-State fans. I also wonder, the whole thought of like he wasn't a leader early on, and he wasn't, doing the things that I think people expected him to do, blah, 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 early on. How much of that is just the normal new player on a new team finding his footing that happens with a lot of players on a lot of teams year in and year out when they find a new team? And I think we're going to see more of that as we have resets and rosters, and we have new players making boatloads of money coming in and having to acclimate to a new coach and a new system. It happens all the time anyway.
Yeah.
But I wonder how much of that is he's just finding his footing on a new team. And it just so happens that there's a brighter spotlight on him because everybody knows what's going into his bank account, and they want to see immediate results. They want to see an immediate impact from day one. And sometimes you just have to get acclimated and accustomed to your new team, your new philosophy, your new city, all of that. And I think that was a large part of it.
It was. And again, like by the end of it, I will fondly remember him because I do appreciate the player he became, and I appreciate that he played through a major injury. But look, it was a disappointing season. Like I don't want it to sound like we're making excuses. This is all in the context of his breakdown last night, sort of emotionally with how it weighed. And just go back and look. He was the 11th ranked transfer portal player according to On3, and there's I just found the first one I could. But Griffin and Storr were both inside the top. Yeah, they were 19 and 20 respectively. So you're talking about all the same range of players. And look, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And then here's what else will happen, Tommy. We'll get to the championship game this year, and we'll look at it. And with the exception of, well, there won't be an exception. Probably whoever's going to get in will have transfers on the team. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't work, and that's okay. And again, what I don't want to do is blame players getting paid. Players have always been paid. Blue blood programs have always been able to provide more for them than other programs. That is not new to college basketball. It just wasn't front facing like it is now. Okay? Like the change has come in the portal, not the NIL portion of it. It's not that players are getting paid. They've always been paid. It's that they can more easily change teams now. That's the big difference. So, anywho, let's talk KU here, Tommy. I don't know. Like, I'm not smart enough to know the correlation between AJ Storr's expanded offensive role and how that correlates to how poorly they played defensively in the game. Does it at all? I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, is there a correlation there? Because I would tell if there's not, like, as much as I would love to get his offense, if it's at the cost of the defense, I don't like it. I don't like it. They still, like, they're not all of a sudden gonna like get 18 points from AJ Storr, become a bad defensive team, and win any tournament games. It's not going to happen.
I don't think that's the correlation. I think that's a part of it. I mean, I think that you do definitely give up some defensively when AJ Storr is in the game. But man, they were bad defensively all the way around. It wasn't just.
But that's, I mean, if it's going to be the 3-point shot, that's good. That's Hunter Dickinson's not going to defend the three, right? KJ Adams might a little bit.
But I mean, like you can even point at like Zeke Mayo. There were multiple times where I'm like, Mayo, get a hand up. Like, what are you doing? Like, come
Mayo
on,
was
man.
great offensively again.
He was great offensively. So it's to me, it's not AJ Storr putting up a bunch of points and being a liability defensively. You have to look at Zeke Mayo as well, who shot the ball fantastic. I mean, he was great in the game offensively, and then there were just lapses in defense. But Mayo, Storr, Griffin, like all of that defensively were issues. I think it's okay to point the finger at DeJuan Harris too. This is a guy,
it for sure is.
This is a guy who has historically been a good to great defender on
like
this
all-American defender.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a national defensive player of the year candidate. Right.
Absolutely.
And he was a liability defending the perimeter last night.
I don't know where it's one of the biggest mysteries to me this year.
That's why I'm saying, like, I don't, people throw out the word regression a lot, and we've used that word from time to time also. I think there's a clear regression from DeJuan Harris defensively.
No, I agree.
He's never been an offensive threat.
Right.
But you lean on his number one is facilitating offensively, but number two, you lean on him defensively, and he's been a letdown for sure.
They turned it over too much last night. That's been a thing for them, which is another way to look at Harris. I mean, Harris had 4 turnovers. Like, you can't do that. Dickinson definitely can't either. Dickinson, he has those games where he'll just like miss passes. He's as Jekyll and Hyde a passer. And by the way, let me say this too, because I've given Dickinson plenty of heat. Dickinson has been awesome lately. Like, this Dickinson we've had the last, 4, 5, 6 games has been every bit of player of the year candidate. Like, he has been fantastic lately. So good. Don't know why those passes though, like your center with 4 turnovers, like that can't happen. But
to your point though, he's been outstanding recently. It was, and I don't know if you felt this way down the stretch, but actually both in regulation and in overtime last night. Like, why are you not getting the ball to Dickinson more? Like,
they definitely tried in overtime.
They tried in overtime, but at the end of regulation, they didn't. Like, there was the play with KJ where he took a mid-range jumper with like 15 seconds left on the shot clock. I'm like, what are we doing? Get the ball inside to Dickinson and let him physically get up there and draw contact and maybe go to the line and ice the game away and put it away for the Jayhawks. Like, we don't need to be taking a mid-range jumper from KJ Adams. Then the final play out of the timeout offensively in regulation for the Jayhawks, when it looked like a KJ Adams ISO, I don't know if that's what they drew up or not, or if that's just what ended up happening. And Adams steps on the baseline and turns it over. Like, what are we doing here? Like, why are you not giving the ball to your All-American?
KJ Adams with the ball in his hand trying to dribble. Yeah, no, that wasn't that was not
like nobody on the
that was a mistake.
Planet wants to give the ball to KJ Adams with the game on the line.
Including Bill Self. That was a mistake. I mean, it was clearly a mistake. KJ Adams has also been feeling it lately, by the way.
He's been great. He's been great. That's
like
not
those
his game,
two
though.
guys who have taken a lot of heat just as a quick moment to give them some, like, they've both been playing really, really well lately. And it's like, and last night, and Shocker fans, don't worry. I know Shocker fans are ready to talk about their game today. We're going to do that in the next hour. We have Taylor Eldridge coming in. But it's interesting to me that, like, all the different pieces we're seeing now, right? We're seeing Adams and Dickinson return. We're seeing the offense flow through them, which is those are the things we need to see, right? We're seeing we're seeing some of the guards play a little better offensively now. Like, we're seeing all this stuff. And as we look ahead to the tournament games that will actually matter, it's just like, can they, and I know this is a pipe dream because they haven't been able to do it all year, but we're seeing bits and pieces of it in different places here lately. It's such a fascinating year because if it does all come together, they'll beat somebody badly. They'll beat somebody that's really good badly, right? But can they do it for more than one game? I think that becomes the big, not only can they do it, but can they do it, twice and then 3 times and then 4 times? And that's the part of it that gets hard. But we are starting to see, we're starting to see little bits and pieces. That was not a good performance last night, but it wasn't because it wasn't good offensively. It's because it wasn't good defensively. That's the part I can't figure out. How does this team ever be bad defensively? And I'm sure Bill Self wonders the same thing, right? Like, where Where does that come from? Where does the trip out to Utah come from? Where does allowing UCF to make 14 threes come from? It'd be one thing if they were just heat checking, shooting half-court shots, right? That's not what's happening. It's not what happened against Texas Tech. They're getting a lot of great looks. Like, stop giving them a lot of great looks.
Right. And I don't know, from an X's and O's perspective, what they have to draw up to try to be able to mitigate that a little bit. But we've seen enough examples of it. It's not consistently. It kind of comes and goes. But when they have the defensive lapses from beyond the perimeter, teams can absolutely kill them.
Yep.
And that is the recipe for an early exit, not only in the Big 12 tournament this week, but in the NCAA tournament.
Sure.
And I don't care what seed they are going into it. I don't care where they play, if they're in Wichita or Providence or Seattle. That doesn't matter.
Right.
You go up against an opponent that they're even halfway competent shooting the three, it's going to hurt you. Like Arizona, and I know they play them again tonight. I go back to senior day. Arizona is not a phenomenal three-point shooting team. Like, I think on the year they're down in like the 200s nationally from beyond the arc. And in the second half on senior day, they looked lights out shooting the three against Kansas. That was in the second half. They did a good job defensively in the first half, the Jayhawks did, but not in the second. Like, they make even mediocre three-point shooting teams look amazing. They've got to figure that out right now if they want a chance to survive.
I agree. And the defense can travel, right? That's the thing. Like, playing at home helps their offense. There's no question about that. But why does the defense ever? I just can't figure it out. All right, we'll come back another hour. We got Tim Fitzgerald. We got Taylor Eldridge in next hour. Don't go away. More Sports Daily right after this.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood, written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say,
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of... It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
310-01 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albrock and Tommy Kester.
All right, welcome back in, everybody, to another hour of Sports Daily. Glad to be here with you, having some fun on tournament week here, championship week, before the big tournament, Selection Sunday coming up. We'll get into all the brackets and all of these things as we make our way through and get ready for live broadcast, a ton of them next week. It's going to be a wild and crazy week. Buckle up, catch up on your sleep before that, Tommy, because it's going to be something. The weather's going to be interesting. I think it looks like it'll be a little chilly on the Thursday to open things up, which is unfortunate. But I think the Saturday portion is looking great. So either way, we know fans will get out there and tough it out. But weather we're waiting on a little bit. We're going to talk Shockers this hour. Taylor Eldridge is going to stop by and get us ready for the AAC tournament for Wichita State. We'll talk some more college hoops. I don't think there's anything tremendous we are missing out of the NFL. It's kind of finally a slower day in the NFL if this madness has begun. Nothing of note for the Chiefs. Russell Wilson's going to work out for the Browns and the Giants, non-starters. That's not going to matter either way. So I think we get a little bit of a reprieve from there. A couple other news items to discuss, Tommy. One, and we don't need to discuss this rather than just mention it. KU baseball can't stay out of the news. 5 home runs yesterday, back-to-back home runs yesterday. Had the baseball world talking, so pretty cool opportunity for them. They've got a little buzz this year. And then the other one, Bobby Witt Jr., Tommy, is hit by a pitch in spring training and leaves the game. Now, I think I sent you the message, like my butt's puckered a little bit with that one. It brought up something we'll discuss in a second of, is he the most important singular player to any team in baseball? There's a case for it. We'll talk about that in just a second, but here's the news of it. So he left the game They took x-rays. The Royals are calling it a contusion, no fracture. He's going to be reevaluated in the morning. At 8 o'clock last night, Bobby Witt Jr. tweeted just a thumbs up, but then also a prayer hands emoji. So I'm not sure what that means. He doesn't tweet very often either, by the way. Like very, very seldom.
There was another update. I don't know if you saw the
often than I do. Okay, so I didn't see this morning. What?
Okay, so no, this was last night also.
Oh.
So then Vinny Pasquantino took a picture of Bobby Witt Jr. and basically retweeted the thumbs up and the praying hands with the picture of Bobby Witt Jr. with his phone in his left hand and said, by the way, I watched Bobby tweet that out with his left hand. So, I mean, by all indications, it looks like he's okay. They were together after the game, and he's, Vinny's saying, like, look, I'm watching him on his phone right now with his left hand. He's going to be okay.
Look at the size of his left forearm, by the way. Good Lord. There's enough meat to absorb a 96-mile-per-hour fastball. It would break my arm in half, I think, getting hit by that. But, yeah, it sounds like he's going to be okay, I think. Boy, that was a scary moment there for a second. And it got my gear. Like, is there a more like singular player based on everything else that's on the roster? Is there a more important singular player to a team than Bobby Witt Jr.? I don't think there is. If you go to like all the best players that are in the conversation with Witt right now, they're all on teams that are sort of loaded a little bit. Not that I don't love the Royals roster, because I do, but man, he is as important. I'd say he's the most important player to his team in Major League Baseball. I think that's a fair thing.
I think that, it used to be probably Mike Trout to the Angels, because they, and really
they were never any good.
They never really got success to fruition with that. But Trout was the singular most important person, I think, to any given team until Bobby Witt Jr. came around. I would definitely say that Bobby's that guy in the league. I don't know if there's anybody that is, as impactful and has the kind of expectations for a franchise that Bobby Witt Jr. has.
Yeah. But I think he's okay. I think based on the initial reports of negative x-rays, that was the first piece of it. Negative x-ray, got to make sure it's not broken. Maybe gets put on ice the rest of spring training, although I doubt it, but maybe. And maybe that means just a little bit of a warm-up period needed at the start of the regular season. But if that's the worst of it in a situation like that, I think you're okay, right? The Royals, this is a part of what we've talked about with them, Tommy. Like, health is going to be so critical for them. And I think that's where you see some of the deflated numbers out of Vegas and everything, is because Vegas isn't going to bet on good health for an entire season this year. The Royals had it in the rotation last year, not necessarily in the lineup. So that's a part of it. And maybe an early moment of it'll be a little nerve-wracking injury-wise. We're really going to have to hope and pray the Royals stay healthy this year, because I do think that's going to have to happen if they're going to live up to this expectation we have, which for me right now on March 13th, and we're getting close, is absolutely a World Series contender. They got to stay healthy, and they avoided a huge landmine yesterday out at spring training with Bobby Witt Jr.'s forearm. My goodness, that was not good yesterday there for a minute. It's just and the vibe of it from all the beats and everybody out there, it was and we'll talk to Jalen Thompson about this tomorrow from spring training, but it was I don't like the tone I'm hearing. I need you to change your tone out there in Arizona right now. You better change your tone on how bad this could be. But yeah, 96 mile forearm will do that to you.
I certainly think that, I wouldn't have an issue if they shut him down, for a while.
Yeah, they will. They will.
And I don't know if that while means the rest of spring training to get him ready for opening day. I don't know what that means. But I wouldn't have an issue with, hey, let's take it a little bit easy. We probably dodged a bullet here with that, and we need to make sure that he's ready for games that actually matter. And really, now that we're into the middle of March and we've got 2.5, 3 weeks until opening day, I think you're probably, if you're Bobby Witt Jr., you're probably pretty warm and ready to go for the season anyway. So I'm not sure that a bunch of added reps in spring training is going to make much of a difference either way. He's a superstar as it is. I'm okay with kind of shutting him down a little bit.
Yeah, if it needs to happen, it needs to happen. If it's just a lucky got the meat is a bruise and he's fine, then yeah, he can play. No big deal there. But that was the other. So that was kind of you had KU baseball, and then you had all the basketball. Oh, and we had high school basketball state championships. I was joking with my coworker Rachel, who was here, and like she's covering high school basketball at Cook Arena. I just keep sending her these these messages. I'm like, oh hey, KU baseball just hit 5 straight home runs. I'm like, oh, hey, Bobby Witt Jr. just got drilled in the forearm, had to leave the game. She's like, you got to stop. I'm like, I can't. Like, oh, and you got to get those 3 state games. Shout out to Mays, by the way, for the big upset early in the day. That was kind of fun. And then all this other college basketball that's happening too, by the way. Yeah, good luck with that. Should be a fun day today. We'll get the Shockers going in Fort Worth. That's soon here, and Taylor Eldridge is going to join us in just a couple of minutes, but our coverage on that, Tommy, starts at 10:30. 10:30.
It's an early game. We go from the late game overtime for KU last night in Kansas City to an early game in Fort Worth today for the Shockers. We're right smack dab in the middle of all of it.
With very different emotions, right? Like KU last night, it's frustrating. They're in overtime. They lose. It wouldn't have been that big a deal, whatever. Now it's like, and now you've got to like rewire yourself for, okay, but the Shockers have to win. And this is, KState, I don't think was playing at the level they were at one point where we thought they were going to be able to actually do it in the Big 12 tournament. I don't think that's the case for Wichita State, right? I think if we were like gauging the chances of one of those 2 sorts of tournament runs, I think most of us would probably gauge the Shockers' chances as higher. That starts today. And I hate that it's coming off of the second half they played against Tulsa. So how do they avoid that, right? How do they avoid that defensively? We're going to get in Taylor to help us discuss that when we return, and just what needs to happen for Wichita State to find success in Fort Worth, and not just find success today, but find success today and Friday and Saturday and Sunday. What is the thing that they can do consistently that could allow it? We know they're capable of beating these teams. They did beat Memphis. They've played North Texas close enough. Like, they're capable, but what is it that they have to do? Taylor always so good on the X's and O's with Wichita State. You can follow his videos. He breaks it all down. So we'll get his take on that as we make our way through. And then we'll also have Tim Fitzgerald. Look, Tim's been as critical as anybody to specifics on this K-State roster. I can't wait to hear his thoughts, now in a postmortem after hearing comments after the game last night on what it's been like, what it looks like moving forward. That's all coming for you here in this hour of Sports Daily. Don't forget, you can always go back and listen to anything that you miss on the Odyssey app if you can't stick with us. So make sure you're doing that as well. We'll get you ready for the busy day. We're going to talk Shockers with Taylor Eldridge when we return. Max Power taking your calls at 869-1240. It's been active. If you want to tweet us too, like the video streams, we got comments there, but a lot of people are just tweeting us. That's always doable, right? You send us a tweet, we're going to find it. Read you one more of those over the air as it pertains to KU before we turn the page away. Chris says Zeke and Diggy every bit as awful on defense as AJ Storr. I agree with that. Yep. I agree with that. But they can't have DeJuan Harris be bad. You can't have 3 bad defensive guards out there for KU. And I don't know how you fix that. Well, DeJuan Harris can't be one of them. That fixes 30% of it. But anywho, we'll come back. We'll talk Shockers when we return on Sports Daily.
$66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
Is the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say,
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of. It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new local news live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
310-01 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems
Why are they hiding it?
and real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
On KFH.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is Sports Daily. Jacob Albrock, Tommy Caster with you here, making our way through a busy program. It's that time of year. We got college basketball all over the place, and that includes here later this morning, 11:30 tip time for Wichita State. Joining us now, Taylor Eldridge on the program. Taylor, have you made your way yet? I assume you're down in Fort Worth?
Yep. I drove down here last night.
Late night. We appreciate you getting up early with us today. How concerned, Taylor, just right out of the gates, how concerned are you that there's any carryover from the second half against Tulsa? That was one of the strange things I've seen all year. it looked so simple for Tulsa. It looked like they ran the same play about 13 possessions in a row, and it led to a layup. Like, is there long-term concern there, or was that an easy fix from what you were able to see?
Yeah, I mean, I think the body of work has shown that this team is capable of both sides of the spectrum. They've played really good basketball during that 6-game winning streak, and then the 1-7 start, and that second half against Tulsa, they've shown they can lose to anybody in this conference. So yeah, I mean, I think teams have tried to go that route against them all season with Ballard in the pick and roll game because they drop him back. And yeah, WSU's just the effort execution just looked off. That was probably their worst defensive half in quite some time, more than a month for sure. So, yeah, I mean, there is some concern because, we've seen this from them before. You think back in that stretch at the start of January, I mean, they were giving up 90 points almost every single game. So there is concern, but if you're an optimist, they have shown the formula for winning. They did it in the 6-game winning streak. I thought they played really well at North Texas, even though that was a loss. So they know what works for them. It's just a matter of what team's going to show up today.
It's been, Taylor, a really, really weird series that the Shockers have had against South Florida this season. You mentioned that stretch of games back in January where they were giving up 90-plus points. They gave up 91 the first time these two teams matched up inside Koch Arena in a 19-point loss to South Florida, followed it up by going on the road to South Florida and beating them by 5. And I know that, we're talking over 2 months ago when they lost by almost 20 points at home to South Florida. You get this team now for a third time this season. And just going through the stats from that very first matchup, I mean, Wichita State let South Florida, they made 57% of their shots in that win inside Koch Arena 2 months ago. I would imagine that the season is, so long, and you've got such a long time since that result, you have to just kind of erase that out of your memory, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not sure how the coaches would approach that because you want that thought in their head that if we don't play the right way, we're going home. Our season's going to be over. So I think you do have to kind of keep that in the back of your mind that if we don't get out to shooters with urgency, they've shown that they can make us pay, and that was really the difference. When the flip switched in the middle of the season, they were much better at getting out to shooters on the 3-point line. Some of that was bad shooting luck at the start, better shooting luck, when it flipped, but, they were doing a better job of getting out, showing urgency, getting a hand in the shooter's face. And, yeah, I mean, they got to make sure they do that against South Florida. These are two different teams than, what we saw at Koch Arena in January. South Florida, they played a really tough schedule down the stretch, but still, they're coming in. They've lost 7 of the last 8. WSU 7-3 in the last 10. So two teams kind of trending in opposite directions. But we saw the very last game for WSU. They're still capable of reverting back to what we saw. So I think for WSU, it's going to be following that familiar formula: defense, rebounding, and particularly defending the 3-point line, like you said.
Taylor, if you had to point to one thing, not just in this game, but in all of the games, like if it's going to take what does it take? 4 wins, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. What is that thing? Because we know Wichita State's been capable of individually beating any of these teams. But what should we be looking for? Like, if they're going to do it, they must do what? Is it as simple as, say, play great defense? Well, that's probably where I lean. But what do you see when you're breaking down these games?
Yeah, I mean, I think defense has got to be there. I would probably pay attention to offensive rebounding, second chance points. When they ripped off those 6 straight wins, they were not shooting any better than they were when they were 1-7. They were still, hovering around 40%, which isn't good. The difference was they were just crashing the glass, just dominating the boards, getting 15 plus second chance points. and the season kind of flipped when, Ronnie DeGray went into the starting lineup in place of Harlan Beverly. And now you got three offensive rebounders in the starting lineup: DeGray, Washington, Ballard. And, sometimes WSU's best offense was just getting a shot up on the glass and missing. So their three crashers could go and just, go get it, basically. Very familiar with, very similar to what Houston used to do. They got some makers, they got some dudes now that they're in the Big 12. But, when they were in the American, very, very similar formula they would follow. Shoot 40%, but just kill them on the glass and really defend. And so I think that's what I'm going to be paying attention to, because it's very unlikely WSU is going to shoot the ball well. There's a large body of evidence that this is not a good shooting team. In fact, one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the country. So, very unlikely they're going to, make 50% of their shots. So, offensive rebounding, I think that's the consistent thing. You can always control the effort on the glass. Can't control, how many shots you're going to make. So, I think offensive rebounding, second chance points, that's the category that I'll be watching for, that might determine, how long of a stay the Shockers will have down here in Fort Worth.
Taylor, we talked about just a few moments ago about trying to wipe the slate clean after the performance on Senior Day against Tulsa. I know that, really for me, and I'm sure for a lot of folks, it was a little shocking, that stretch that Tulsa had in that game, where it seemed like they were able to basically just get layup after layup after layup after layup. And there was very little to no resistance from Wichita State. And so if we're looking specifically at guys like Quincy Ballard and Corey Washington, down in the post, what do you think Paul Mills has been preaching to those guys to avoid a repeat of that in this game today?
Yeah, like I said, they're just really picking them apart, because Ballard is in that drop coverage. And, that means, when the opponents are coming off a ball screen, he's, 5, 6 feet back, hanging back in the paint, hanging back at the free throw line. And Tulsa was just going to town on, coming off free of that pick. And, WSU guards were dying on the screens. I thought Ballard, I would have voted him Defensive Player of the Year. I thought that was probably his worst game of the conference season. He was just in no man's land way too often. And I think they scored, 7 or 8 straight possessions. So not far off. They really were scoring every time down. So I'll be curious, and I was, it was very interesting. Mills did not really make an adjustment in that second half. They stayed in the drop coverage pretty much the whole second half and just got torched. So, will they show a different kind of coverage this game? Jamil Reynolds really killed them that first game at Coke Arena. South Florida's big, 6'11" guy. He can step out and shoot it, and he can go down and hurt you in the paint too. So, will WSU, blitz those pick and rolls, have Quincy Ballard up on the screen, kind of attack the ball handler, try to get it out of his hands. That's going to that's going to require a lot of really good help defense. We've seen WSU do that a little, but, really for most of the season, they've been in that drop coverage, and they just been much better at it. They just tighten the floor, and the guards have been much better at getting around those screens and recovering. Tulsa, we saw, it really fall off a cliff. So that's something to pay attention to later today against South Florida. What does WSU come out in? How are they going to defend those pick and rolls?
Yeah, and I think that's why we keep asking you that, Taylor. It's like, is it a players just need to play better, or does Paul Mills need to make an actual change to what it is they're doing? So we will watch for that. How have you evaluated Paul Mills in year two? I was talking to Kevin Saul earlier this week. I think it gets difficult because in totality, the 8th place finish in the American is absolutely not good enough. It's just not. But if we look at the season and look at it critically, it's almost been like there has been at least 2 seasons, if not 3. You had a great start, a horrendous start to conference play, and then a pretty solid finish to the end of the year. So how does that affect an evaluation, do you think, of Mills in year 2?
Yeah, it's interesting because, I think if you look at the way that he's been able to come up with ways for this offense to still score. They have just almost zero outside shooting. I mean, they are creative with the way that they're able to get space for their downhill drivers like Xavier Bell, Harlan Beverly, Bijan Cortez. I think the coaching staff deserves a lot of credit because really hard to score when defenses don't have to pay attention to you outside the 3-point arc. Just hardly any spacing to work with. So I think WSU coaching staff, they've done good work in getting that figured out. Inserting Ronnie DeGray in the starting lineup. Crashing the glass. But the bigger question, bigger picture, you zoom out. Why do they not have any shooting? Why don't they have any outside threats on this team? And I think it's fair game to kind of criticize. Maybe the portal additions. You look at the last year, you can kind of wave that off. Just got hired, didn't get a full recruiting cycle. You kind of had to get what you could get. Very limited NIL. This time around, though, they had better NIL, nothing crazy, but these were kind of like the handpicked guys, and yeah, just the second straight year, it's just very strange because you look at his record at Oral Roberts, all of those teams, those last 3 or 4 years, they could really shoot the lights out from deep, and they had really good guard play and guards that never turned it over and could all shoot and really space the floor. And it's been almost the opposite, these 2 years at WSU where the guard play has been questionable at best. The front court has been really the strength of this team. Quincy Ballard, has been ridiculous with the field goal percentage. Corey Washington is a dog. Ronnie DeGray, probably the glue guy that holds this all together. So I think it's fair to criticize, the recruiting, the players that he picked out coming into this year. Just a lot of them just haven't really worked out. Justin Hill, really, really good to start the season, kind of faded even before the injury. Now, then he got hurt. Now it's kind of a weird thing to try to bring him back. And it's just very strange. So I think it's fair game to criticize the recruiting, but I think there are, bright spots to, you can point to is like, wow, the coaching staff did a really good job here. And they're kind of making lemonade, but you got a question like, why are they having to make lemonade in the first place?
Let's talk bracketology, Taylor, for just a moment. If Wichita State can't get 4 wins in 4 days in Fort Worth, is there any path for an NIT bid for them, or are we looking at something, one of the smaller tournaments down the road, or is this the end of the road for Wichita State, depending on how things end in Fort Worth?
Yeah, I don't think there's any shot at an NIT. You look at the metrics. They're I think 140 somewhere around there on Ken Palm. The net, they're over 125 now. So I don't think there's any hope for NIT. Anything beyond that, that's going to be up to the players. Do they want to play in that? Rarely do you see a program, in those top 10 or 11 leagues play in those like lower like CBI level events. Sometimes you do. And maybe this group, they want to keep playing. These are 8, 9 seniors. Maybe they want to play. Make one last run. Maybe host a game or two at Coke Arena. That's going to be up to them. But I don't think there's any shot at NIT. It's basically they got to win four in a row in 4 days to extend the season. As far as I'm concerned, they will have a winning record, so they will be eligible, but it's just up in the air if they're gonna want to accept and play in those lower level tournaments. And back in the day, you would do that because you would bring back a core group of players, and that could transfer over to next season. This group, a lot of these guys, this is it for their college career. With the transfer portal, who even knows who's coming back? So don't know if there's that much of a benefit for WSU unless these guys just really, really want to keep playing.
One more for you, Taylor, on that. It's been probably a month ago, and we haven't had time to really dig in yet. When we talked about what could be coming back, Kevin Saul mentioned maybe some creativity and waivers and things. Are any of these seniors, any of these key guys who are traditional seniors, is there a path for any of them to return? Or do you think it's kind of Corey Washington, the freshman, and then we'll see what happens with a whole new roster next year?
Yeah, so Quincy Ballard does have an extra year, or at least that's what they're saying. I haven't been able to confirm that with, anyone that, it's basically just the coaches and Quincy Ballard and I've talked to people in the athletic department that have told me that, but, it's hard to know without seeing like proof.
Right.
But we'll just have to take their word for it. So Quincy Ballard, for sure, is what they're saying, has an extra year of eligibility. Everybody else done. Mate Bosniak, he's technically a senior. I think they're going to apply for a waiver with him, try to get him a second year, over here in America. So I guess those two could come back, but everybody else, they're out. So that would be it.
All right. Well, for Xavier Bell's case, who's been a really fun story, the local kid, we hope they play a whole bunch more games then. Taylor, we appreciate it. You'll head to the arena here soon. So we'll look for your coverage, of course, at the Wichita Eagle. You can follow Taylor on X for all the great videos and all the great breakdowns at Taylor Eldridge there. Thanks for waking up early with us. Enjoy Billy Bob's. I think I sent you that down in
Yeah.
Fort Worth. You got to get in there and take in a show. Of course, all the great food. Enjoy your time in Texas.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
There goes Taylor Eldridge in what is a great city. I was just down there, Tommy, for some other work and stuff. And I'm coming down the highway. That Dickies building is huge. It's huge. Like, it is tall. It's strange. Like, it looks awesome from the outside. Like, it sticks out. It's a really cool. And one of these days I want to get down there and take in an AAC tournament. Like, one of those days where the Shockers are not in, an 8 seed for sure. But like, to take in that tournament, because it would be a fun, like, if you knew you could spend the 2 or 3 days there watching basketball and then hanging out. Fort Worth is a really cool city, and it is not Dallas, by the way. Like, there's DFW. I get it. Fort Worth and Dallas are like, they're totally different places. Fort Worth is more of a Texas feel in the traditional sense. Dallas is very metropolitan, right? Fort Worth is not. Fort Worth is very much like, you got Billy Bob's, you got the cowboy vibe of it. Fort Worth's really cool. So I'm glad they played that tournament down there.
Yeah, I really like that's where the tournament is, and I know that historically, longtime Shockers fans wax poetic for St. Louis and Arch Madness and back in the Valley days, because that was fun, like that.
Sure.
And St.
When
Louis
the Valley was
hosting that tournament, when the Valley was what it was. But I mean, yeah, now that you're in the American, I can think of many, many, many worse places to hold a conference tournament than the Dickies Arena in Fort Worth. That's a really
and imagine that place too with Houston and Cincinnati and
for sure.
UConn and like, it would just be epic. Man, the league that got picked apart just a little bit too late, but we'll see what the Shockers can do. Again, 10:30 coverage begins over on KEYN for Wichita State. We appreciate Taylor Eldridge stopping by. If you missed any of it and you want to go get a breakdown, go back and listen on the Odyssey app. We'll have that for you. All right, when we come back, Tim Fitzgerald. We'll talk K-State next.
"66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust." Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
Is the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say,
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new local news live streaming app.
Make yourself known now. 83101 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you
and inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Sports Daily is on KFH.
And now, digging deeper with the teams you follow, it's another Sports Daily Insider interview on KFH.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is Sports Daily here on KFH. Jacob Albrock, Tommy Castor. We are joined now by Tim Fitzgerald. GoPowerCat.com, at Life of Fitz on social. Didn't go K-State's way, Tim, yesterday against Baylor. They played well in the second half, or well enough, but they just couldn't overcome a run. Not that they're not really equipped to do that. Even more than that game specifically, though, it's kind of the post game that has us talking this morning. An emotional Coleman Hawkins after the game. I think some concessions there that he wishes he could have been better, and it basically put all the early season noise to the side. We hate seeing that for Coleman Hawkins, but at the end of the day, like, his numbers were there. He was, he scored about where he always has. He was better rebounder at K-State than he'd been anywhere else. He was probably a better defender, at least for most of the season. What is your takeaway on all of that after the game? Because it was hard to see it, honestly.
Yeah, we chose not to run it. I thought it was too emotionally raw, and that it's funny because he talks about social media. I chose to try to protect him from it. I don't fault anyone who ran it. In hindsight, to see how K-State fans reacted to it, I wish I'd ran it because I think most fans really feel for him. I don't think fans ever quite understood, and I didn't at the first of the season, how much this kid actually cared. He kind of puts off this aloof, casual persona on the court, and that's not really him.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I got to say this: he's the one responsible for his play, and the last two games of the season kind of were who he was as a basketball player: incredible and absent. And that's something he's going to have to get a hold of, because now he's moving into the professional part of his career. You can say he was in the professional part of his career with NIL now, but it's going to truly become a job. No school, this is your life. And he's going to have to find a way to be more consistent, not in output, but in kind of engagement. I saw him really be into the flow of some games and just kind of be on the outskirts of others. And that's the way he's been. But I got to say this kid is incredibly talented.
Yeah.
He's one of the most blessed in terms of skills basketball players I've seen, probably covered in person, probably only behind Michael Beasley.
But he's just not like a shooter, which is I honestly, I think that's a part of it, isn't it? That people thought he was going to come in and average 20 a game, but that's just not it for him. That's not what he does.
But that's what's frustrating. He can. He has that capability. He's just not a consistent shooter. What he does isn't always repeatable. But this guy's got every skill you need to be a high level player. He's an athlete. He can dribble. He can shoot. If he can learn to be consistent with it, he can shoot it deep. He's shown that, and he's an amazing passer. But just putting it all together into one thing, hasn't done it yet. And I got to say this: maybe the professional ranks will be a better brand of basketball for him, because I'm not an NBA guy. I just think it's a more casual game. It's like, let's just go out there and kind of have an all-star game, and we're not going to play a lot of defense, and we're going to do a lot of one-on-one. Maybe that will be really good for his game.
It's been really interesting, Fitz, to watch the overall perception, I think, of Jerome Tang specifically as this season has gone on. Because you go back to the really bad stretch for Kansas State, and I think a lot of folks were pretty critical, yourself included, of him and the program. Then they rattle off the 6 games in a row. They're playing like the best team in the country. Kind of got the spotlight off of him a little bit, I think, during that stretch, but they still finished the season as a sub 500 team, missing the NCAA tournament for the second year in a row. I thought Gene Taylor had some interesting comments after the game about how he still has total faith in Jerome Tang and the coaching staff, but there are some adjustments and some things that he wants to see Jerome Tang figure out going into next season. Now that we're through the season, and especially knowing that more than likely Kansas State won't play in any kind of postseason tournament, how do you assess Tang in his third season, and where does this program need to go?
I think he's still learning as a head coach, and it is year 3, and I think part of that is the changing landscape of how you coach with NIL and transfer portal, and he got wrapped up in that and got kind of distracted by shiny objects there for a little bit, which is the ability to add players like free agents, and that hasn't worked on a consistent basis in college basketball. So now he's going to go back to what he knew from before, which is good, and trying to meld the two to go together, which is going to be a process. And Gene Taylor's going to have to be patient with it, because honestly, he gave this guy a contract that can't be bought out at anytime soon as we head into this weird era of financing of college athletics. But I thought I thought Coach Tang was. There was a question at the podium about offensive output from one of my colleagues in the K-State media. I thought it was a very fair question. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it, and he reacted negatively to it. And those are the kind of things he's kind of got to work through. If you're going to be grumpy at the podium, be 27-3.
Right. I agree. And honestly, like we talked about Coleman Hawkins, like for me, it was his friction or whatever was the reason Doug McDaniel did not get on quickly. Like that, I think was the biggest reason for K-State's early season woes. It wasn't Coleman Hawkins. It was the disconnect between coach and Doug McDaniel.
Jacob, you nailed it. That's a really good point. Yeah, that relationship took way too long to get settled in. It's another indicator of the perils of the transfer portal. It's like speed dating. You're getting into relationships because you spent a few days together, and it doesn't always work out. This did work out. It just took a while to figure out the relationship, and now the relationship's really strong. I think it's going to be good going into next year if Doug stays. Maybe Doug wants out too. I don't know, but if that young man wants to get to the professional ranks, he's going to have to settle in and improve some stuff, and probably sticking with a guy who actually has developed a point guard in the past and other guards might be a really good thing for him.
I want to go back to your note about the question at the podium after the game, because I noticed that too, and I noticed the kind of that reaction was a little like, you're kind of negative here about this, when I think that's an extremely fair question. How much of, and I know you've said that Tang is still learning how to be a head coach and all of that through the first 3 years. He's very vocal. He's a very vocal coach, whether it's good or bad. He's going to be raw. He's going to be honest. He's going to wear his emotions on his sleeve and all of that. How much do you think you have to kind of take the bad with the good with Jerome Tang, jumping into the stands and dancing with the fans and, going and talking to people around campus and donors and being all bubbly. But also, you also know if it's negative, it's going to go the other way. Do you kind of have to, do you think that just the K-State community in general kind of has to live with the fact that whether it's good or bad, he's going to be vocal?
He shows his emotions. He puts it out there. And he's generally a really happy guy. But when times aren't good, you can tell he's down. He was down at the podium. And I imagine that there's a raw emotion of anger sometimes in practice. I mean, he just puts his emotions out there. And that's just who he is. That's not a fault or a strength. That's just, I'm kind of the same way. So I get that. And fans got to understand that. This isn't Jack Hartman. This isn't Bill Snyder. It's not. Jerome's a little up and down, and I think that's something that's made him endearing to K-State fans. And also, when you show emotional, when you put your emotions out there, people take that as a weakness, and they kind of jump on that too, and get on you about that. So it was just a frustrating season, and when you're going through a frustrating season, what happens? Social media gets frustrating, and the fans have radical highs and radical lows. That's what fanatics are, and it's the name of the game now. I know it. I'm part of it. I put my opinions out there on social media, and people don't like it. You know what? If you got problems with social media, you can't stand the opinions of others. Get off social media.
Don't be on there. I agree. If you don't like it, change the channel. That's the thing. Like if it really bothers you that much. Fitz, real quick, the off season. I mean, we expect, I assume, a fairly large reload. But can fans still have the confidence that there is the ability for K-State again this off season now to go get the players that they need to get? They're proving it. Jerome Tang, by the way, he's only been a head coach for 3 years. He's been a coach for a long time. He's only been a head coach for 3 years. So I think you're spot on with learning how to do some of that stuff. Can he go, though, and get players again this offseason? Is the donor base there? Is the money there? Is K-State going to be okay there?
We'll find out. And I think the next step is player retention. How many players do they want to retain? How many players want to stay? They have a roster here where they can do that. The roster at Kansas State will be expanding to 15. And that's an opportunity to add some more people. Hopefully not all through the transfer portal. They do have a couple high school commitments. They might want to get another one or so. I think what they're looking at is they eventually want to be in a scholarship situation where you've got about half your roster coming back and about half of the remaining scholarships go to high school players and half of them to portal players. And you start getting that balance in classes. David Gasson is the poster child of where Jerome Tang has gone wrong, because look at this. This is repeatable. David Gasson bringing in a player and developing them and turning them into what he became is really what K-State basketball and a lot of programs are about. That's, as I said, that's repeatable. Go do that some more. Although he's an incredible story, and his amount of improvement has been absolutely stunning.
It's everybody's adjusting to it. It's not just Jerome Tang at K-State. K-State fans, literally everybody's adjusting to it. All right, Fitz. You guys, I guess, we'll follow you along in this recruiting adventure, and we begin to really think about football now as K-State's basketball season is done. And, of course, the K-State women will have something to say in the tournament as well. GoPowerCat.com, @LifeOfFitz on social. We appreciate it.
Thank you, boys. Great to see you.
There goes Tim Fitzgerald. Tommy, real quick, I want to say thanks to Crestview Country Club for being a great supporter of the show. I'm going to go play golf. Right after this. I'm going to play 9 holes.
I'm happy for
fast.
you.
I'm going to play them fast, and then I'm going to go to other work. But this is what I must do if I'm going to improve my game. Oh, I have a little window. I got to cram it in there, and I'm going to do it.
I got out and played yesterday on my birthday. It was a beautiful day, warm, light wind. It was great. My golf game was not great. It
Would
was
you play
the
north
first,
or south?
I played the north. And it was, my first official round of the year. So had to shake the rust off a little bit. I ended with a par. I actually started with a par and ended with a par. So bookend, it was okay. It was the
way to
middle
do
that
it.
Didn't go very well.
You don't want those in the middle of your round. You won't remember them, right? It's good to start that way and end that way. That's about how you can do it. Yeah, my goal in a round is usually to par 2 holes right now. Like that's if I can get par 2 holes, I'll be in good shape. So we'll see. Thanks to Crestview. The course is looking great. I'm gonna go play the South course today. So you got 36 holes to choose from there at Crestview. Give them a call. We're going to get some more details and information for you. A lot of cool stuff coming with them as we're continuing that partnership into this year. So look forward to that and look forward to being able to bring some cool stuff to the listeners through that as well. All right. When we come back, we will get you ready for the day here. We've got KU tonight at 8:30. Won't have that on the radio for you. It's another late game, which means another tired morning for us in the morning, almost certainly, as that game against Arizona almost promises to be a great, fun basketball game to watch. But we'll tell you about everything else coming on the radio today when we return and wrap up Sports Daily. Don't go away.